Hello and welcome back. Welcome to another episode of Contact Lost. We're reacting live to the Dataslate today, and hopefully we will be going through all that has been released, dropped, rules changes, very exciting stuff. So I'm the Joker, and with me I've got Majson. Hi, Majson.
Hello there.
Great to have you. First of all, just a quick mention of our sponsors, the Army Painter and Weyland-Yutani, and obviously our patrons, without whom we wouldn't be doing any of this. And let's go straight to it. So the data stays dropped today. The way we're going to do it is that we're going to go through the points changes and the rules changes simultaneously by dropping them on screen like this. And after that, we'll go to the rules commentary and see what's in there. Right, so first up, we've got the Adeptus Sororitas, and I think a couple of obvious points changes. So Arco-Flagellants going up in points. Same for the Exorcist. And a change for the Triumph of St. Catherine, but I'll let Majson talk about that. So, Majson, what's your hot take here?
So here we go. Sisters has basically have become quite interesting army recently in terms of competitive team compositions, due to the few amazing data sheets that are in the codex, in the index basically, and the things that you can abuse doing miracles dice shenanigans. So the hot take on this, first of all, as probably expected, Arco-Flagellants went up in points. So it's unfortunately I don't remember by heart what was the old point cost, because there's no difference mentioned, but I believe it was 130 points. We got 150. It's still like one of the best data sheets in the Imperium list. So they still do the job, because they are, for their points, they're still really tough and really terrible on the battlefield. And they kill. Also, they can enormous amounts of attacks are just fine. So I guess this datasheet is going to be played still. We do have the nerf of Exorcist, and there's a trend noticed in the basically entire update we have today. So all major indirect shooting units went up in points. That's actually nice to see, because probably no one likes indirect shooting, but guard players, of course. Yeah. It is what it is. Then we got like some buffs as well in points. What's worth mentioning is definitely Supreme Squad. It's 60 points, 5 models. It's a kind of a good thing. And there is a nerf to Morvenval and a buff to Paragon Warships. So basically, sister list used like Paragon Warships with Morvenval together usually. We'll see how it goes later, but yeah. And the comment on the Dataslate itself, what we have is that basically the nerf of St. Catherine is that you can only like perform up to 2 acts of fate if the unit is within 6 of this model, instead of only 1. So it's kind of limits what you can do with miracles on the table. It's still gonna be played, basically, problem for its points value, but we'll see. What's the list? So I don't think that sister list will change a lot after the nerf here, but I would perceive that the entire like update as a slight nerf to the faction for now. Just as a hot take, as the first thing, because I didn't take much time to analyze everything. Just looking for the changes. It's a slight nerf.
Yeah, but as you said, slight. Do you think that Sisters will be or might be one of the predominant factions in the new meta?
I mean, Sisters are a stable faction. They got really good data sheets and really good faction rules, really good stratagems. I really like this army, and I'll just spoil ahead something. Elves got nerfed, so Sisters currently got like a one worse bad matchup less. But we'll see.
Okay, let's see. Right, so next on the list, if we go through the Monitor Field Manual, and well, they're both alphabetical, so it's actually, never mind that. We've got Adeptus Custodes. They're showing up all in green. Oh, and I think that it's worth mentioning a massive kudos to Games Workshop for finally differentiating colors with those little arrows here, using the green for points drops and red for points increases.
Yeah, that's
excellent work.
that's probably the most positive thing I have seen here.
Yeah, I was gonna say my favorite change,
excluding some changes to Eldari, but
which
yeah.
will do very soon. But first, Custodians. So we've got points dropped from the Terminators, on the Guard unit, on the Wardens, and on the bikes, including the Captain. I think the Captain's quite a big points decrease. And a very important, I think, rules changed, because in the previous Dataslate, the change to Devastating Wounds meant that Custodies were absolutely destroyed by this ability. Now, the Feel No Pain of 4-up against mortal wounds also applies to critical wounds caused by attacks with the Devastating Wounds ability.
Yeah. So I got like mixed feelings on that. I mean, what I mean is it's very good change, because basically the critical wounds update were just I mean devastating wounds were like huge anti-custodes change last time we had the change about the rules. And right now they try to fix that with and they fixed that thing with allowing Feel Pain prop against this devastating wounds. But on the other hand, it's something I don't like in the rules design. So we are doing the exception to the exception, and it's kind of thing that worries me in the future when such fixes will arrive later on. We can just be in the situation that we'll have exception to exception to an exception, and then the rules will be bloated, still bloated. So from one side, I like the change because it fixes the thing that was already broken last time. On the other hand, we have like a quick fix, exception to an exception, which I don't like personally. Yeah, but in a game state likewise, it's a good change, I think, for Custodians.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's buffs all around. Custodians got hit quite hard in the previous Dataslate, almost disappeared right from the meta, you could say. And well, maybe now they'll be back. And moving on, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or actually, well, we've got Adeptus Mechanicus here if we scroll down the points PDF, but there's no mention
changes
of
here.
AdMech in the Dataslate. There are no points changes here, which is not surprising, because obviously the codex hasn't been out that long. Although from our experience, or from what I'm seeing across all sorts of discords, etc., it feels like AdMech could actually use some sort of a buff.
Yeah, I have personally playtested Admech for the last two months, since the release. Basically, I'm testing Admech, and like the change, the issue is with this faction that nothing can actually kill anything on board, and that's a huge problem because we have don't have any stable shooting in the army, so reducing ballistic skill from 3 up to 4 up recent layers just destroyed the army because the army don't have any mean to overcome this weakness. So unfortunately, no changes, but I really hope that they will find out some solution for Admech because currently it's like really bottom tier faction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we've got Eldari. So finally, some significant changes, I would say. I don't think that the first Dataslate did that much, but this one does quite a bit. So starting with the points, the Night Spinner got a points increase, but so did almost all units across the game that shoot indirectly.
Yes.
And the obvious Rave Guard also got a points increase, but nothing else. That surprises me a little because I did expect a couple more points increases, as whilst Eldari is a very deep index. I don't think I saw a lot of innovation in lists, I want to say. They all pretty much revolved around obviously the Night Spinners, the Wraith Guard, and then your Wayleaper, your Incon, your Fugan, some what are they called? Shining Specters and Warp Spiders and all that kind of stuff. Usually the same thing. The fact that the points didn't change for the Incarn does not surprise me because it got nerfed in the data state, to which we'll get. And but yeah, what do you think about the points themselves for now?
So indirect I think indirect change is always okay. I guess the single spinner is still be like a fine tool to have on board because of the reducing movement and stuff, but no longer like spamming 3 of them. It's like quite good for the game state. Because as I said before, no one likes indirect shooting. And for right guard, it's also probably a good change. But together with all the nerfs that came with the data slate, I don't think it was necessary actually. But let's go to the changes of
Let's
in
do that.
the data slate because there
So,
are really like significant things happening here. Yeah.
okay, so first of all, you only get half of the strands of fate you'd have up to this point. So now you're rolling 6 dice instead of 12 to begin with, which is big. I mean, that's still a powerful ability, right? And it was, yeah, go on.
Yeah, still having 6 dice is okay, but to be honest, I personally think it's quite a hit because last time you had like 12 and then you rolled one or re-rolled strength of fate roll once or twice, and you still got 10. And right now, if you are really unlucky with the first roll of 6, you if you reroll, you lose like 1/6 of the dice. So you can't actually reroll to many times.
Yeah,
We'll start.
you can't mulligan that much. But I think this just means that you might have to reconsider taking Eldrad and or the Farseers. Because they
Yeah,
give you abilities to change flipping those dice to sixes, or in the case of
yeah.
Eldrad, rolling some additional ones. So it's not all doom and gloom.
Yes, you have solutions for that in the index, but they cost points, and that's in total.
That's
It can be just too much. Together with point changes, it can be just too much. But yeah.
okay. Sounds like you're defending them. I don't like that narrative.
Oh man,
Anyway, Fate's
come on,
Messengers.
come on! I need some challenge for my GSC.
All right. Fate's Messenger's been changed, so now it's only the bearer that can change the rolls to a 6 rather than the unit itself.
Yeah.
So this was mostly used on the Spirit Seer to change, I think most often a wound roll to a 6 for the Rave Guard or a hit roll for the lethal hits. So that's no longer viable. Then we've
Yeah.
got a much
I guess it was used from Troop Masters in some like Hurricanes lists. But yeah, but it still applies for that use, but not for a Spirit Seer, I guess.
yeah. Then we've got a change to Phantasm. I think very much wanted change. I'm still not sure if this is like the direction that's good, because what's happened is that instead of a normal move of up to 7 inches, it's now up to D6. And I kinda have trouble understanding why couldn't this have just been bought in line with other similar stratagems, as in you can only use it when someone goes within 9 of said unit. But they've gone for a different direction here, and I don't know if I use this stratagem at all now. What do
No,
you say?
you competitively you never use such things. Maybe some just to risk something or to something that you really need. But to be honest, I've no one liked Phantasm Phase in the game. Just to be fair with everyone, Phantasm was like overcomplicated thing that it was so necessary to for elder players. It got nerfed once to not to Phantasm with Great Knights one time, once in the past. Right now, doing some such things like normal move of up to D6, it could mean you can move 6 and it's super fine, or you can move 1 and you cannot hide the unit, for example.
Yeah, you've basically thrown away a command point for nothing.
for nothing. There might be actually some uses for that when you just deploy, for example, on the edge of the ruin and just to have like small line of sight and then move the unit with 1 inch is sufficient. So they still have like uses for that, but it will be much more limited. So Phantasm change was necessary, but I personally think it's just too harsh nerf to big change, because it basically as you mentioned, it provides us with some kind of rules inconsistency, and we don't like rules inconsistency at all. But,
no, we don't. 100%.
yeah.
Right, then up next we've got Eldrad, but I don't. Is that an actual rules change? I think they just changed the wording that this
Yeah.
means that roll will consist of not 15 but 9, right?
Yes,
So he still
that's
add
just
3 as he did.
Yes.
As one does. Right, then we've got the Night Spinner. So this has actually been brought in line with other similar rules, because previously it was -2 move and cannot advance. Now it's just -2 move, advance, and charge. And I like that. I like that it's been brought in line.
Everything that increases rules consistency is much welcome. So I'm happy they're doing this. But it's still like 2 rules for the bad and 1 for the good, in terms of consistency, of course.
Yeah, of course. That's not all there is. We need to scroll back up. Then we've got a change to the. So now you can only jump once in each of your. So that is the Eldari player's turn. So you can't do it all the time. Each time something dies, and you can't do it in the opponent's turn. I'll let you comment on that first.
Yeah. So basically, I might just got criticized for this, but actually I like the Incarn mechanics. It was broken, of course. I admit it was broken, but it was one of the things that required a lot of skill to use properly, and so I like that, and I will miss that. My like competitive soul will miss that rule in terms that I can't do tricks anymore. But on the other hand, game state wise, it's a really much welcome change because people got frustrated by how efficient Inkern model was. Like there were tricks that could play around Inkern and do some stuff. Right now, a lot of these tricks will be not needed. And to be honest, for now, I like the change. It will probably mean that Inkern will not be played. Because he basically he will be one use model right now. Maybe it will be played differently, like keeping him longer on the table, hidden somewhere, and just using Inkern in like 4th or 5th turn. 5th maybe it's late, but 3rd or 4th turn. But yeah, still. I know that people's opinion is that they got really angry with Inkern's shenanigans. So I guess a lot of people will be happy about it. What is not good is that this actually simplifies the tricks. So no longer like really good plays from competitive player perspective. As always, I just don't like the game to become flat. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to risk my credibility and say that I disagree with you a bit, because I think that the Incarn was actually like idiot proof. Because of how tough it was, you could just throw it in, and your opponent would need to either dedicate a lot of resources to get rid of it, or have to somewhat play around it. But then again, I'm surprised they didn't change it to what it was in 9th, so just that you cannot charge after making the jump. Do you think that would have been a better change, or do you prefer this one? Okay, I think we've got a little bit of a disconnection from Majson. We'll see if he comes back soon enough. Right. I'll move on, and then we can discuss the Incarn if and when he comes back. So last but not least, we've got a change to the Rave Guards. So now, when using their War Construct ability, they can only target the enemy unit that just attacked them and only if that unit is an eligible target, which I think is a very good, very welcome change, because getting a free activation to shoot something off the board was just a little bit of, well, nonsense, honestly. And here he is, seems to be back. Are you back?
Sorry, just some connection issues. We are discussing Inker, yep.
Yeah, and it was a bit funny because I said that I'm gonna disagree with you, and then you dropped.
Yeah, I know, I know. It's so funny. So let's agree to disagree.
Yep. Let's leave it at that.
It's so funny, but yeah. Okay, and one more thing. I guess they are about this idiot proof in Kern. It also depends on the army, because for GSC, actually dropping Inkern into my DC turn one was a good play for GSC, because I got like means to kill the Inkern with mortal wounds and stuff. And basically, that was the first, usually the first mistake that costed the entire game for elder player. I did like this like three times or four. But yeah, that's kind of a past, I guess, right now. And I agree totally with things that the knife, previous thing. So after teleport, not charge, would be just better, because then you would need to consider whether you are going to risk Inker not doing enough damage to pay off, and yeah, right now it's kind of weird state. So let's go on.
So at least we agreed on that. And I was just saying or explaining the change to the Rave Guard. So I'll only ask for your comment on it, but I think there's not much to say, only that it is a good change.
Yeah, I think so.
One for the better. Right, so your opinion on the state of Eldari now. Will they find a way to be the bully yet again? Or have they been done in at last?
I guess its scope of changes is just too much, and they will builds that are used will need to change, because the entire army was relied on a couple of things, and those things are phantasm. So you can't secure your units. So every exchanges of the units on the table will be more costly for others. Others already got nerfed with some points before. So you're still paying more points for what the units just do on the table. Night spinners were and Inker were core of many lists, but on the other hand, we have some new tricky lists that were playing without the Inker, without triple spinner, just a single spinner. So there will be still lists that can be playable. We'll see how it goes on the table, of course. But for now, I would say that this is not like a top faction anymore. I guess it will still find some place, maybe in top 8, but it's hard to say right now. The scope of changes is just too big to assess it right now.
Yeah, because we haven't really had that many archetypes of lists, right? And the one that was dominant has been completely shattered. So the players need to kind of reinvent what are they doing with the Eldar faction, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, moving on to agents. of the Imperium. Do we want to discuss anything here? I don't actually see what. There's no points changes. I'm not sure if that's an actual change to the exaction squad, or even if that's new.
Let's
Do you know?
just go on. I have no clue.
Okay. Imperial Guard, or as the new kids on the block would call them, Astra Militarum. So only the Manticore has got a point increase. I guess the other.
We see the pattern.
Yeah. Although there's so much more indirect shooting in Guard that's been untouched, it's kind of interesting or like surprising that only the Manticore has been nerfed.
The thing is that the Manticore was the most efficient indirect shooting here, and the rest was like maybe we'll take them if we have some spare points, and they're all the Guard is like was before the Dataslate was really in a good place, and you just didn't need any more indirect shooting in the list. So they're just not that efficient as Manticore used to be. I'm still. I have seen this change. I was still counting Manticores in because of the damage free and rerolls and stuff. But yeah, I haven't just calculated the entire list yet. But we'll see. Probably some. You can take Basilisk, you can take Medizas, or however they're called. Just someone needs to do the math and see, because which indirect shooting you take is basically a math thing, and you can just adapt to the metagame. That's and still the card list archetype that is the most popular relies on having this indirect shooting. So probably card players will look for indirect shooting, still look for indirect shooting in their lists. So
definitely. And there is also a change to the orders, but again, is this new or is
it's actually a quite big buff, because right now you are allowed to do orders when you disembark with officers or set up them on the battlefield. So this opens up kind of
because so previously, sorry to jump in there, but so previously this was only in the command phase, right? And now you can. Okay. Well, yeah, that's a huge buff.
Yes, exactly. I'm just double checking some things.
Sure.
Yeah. Basically, this is a huge thing because it opens up many plays that you can do with some orders, especially that you have orders with like additional OC, and you probably know what are your advanced roles, for example. Just a nice addition to what you have.
Okay, so I think we'll be seeing more of Guard in that case.
In teams composition, they're still like they. From my opinion, was that they are easily in top 5, and right now we just got a slight nerf to indirect and buff to orders. You'll just change indirect to another indirect, or just find some points in the list. But I guess Guard will be fine. That's for sure.
100%. Right, then we've got Black Templars. They've only got some points increases. Not exactly the most popular choice in our Polish little playground.
And to be honest, I'm just not really familiar with Space Marines
Me neither.
at all.
Me neither. Haven't really been following anything. Blood Angels have no points changes, but they do have a detachment change. I believe that previously they added 1 to the strength characteristic if they charged. Now they add 2. Not really too much to write home about, in my opinion.
Yeah. But the next thing will probably apply to you, especially for Dataslate thing.
Yeah, especially the Dataslate thing. That is correct. So now the next faction that we've got is our Chaos Demons. Quite a few points decreases across the board. Points increase for the most often allied in units, so the Blue Scribes and the Nurglings. But in terms of allying, the more important bit is the Dataslate change, which means that now for a non-battle line unit, you also need to take a battle line unit, essentially. So this is pretty much like Bellacor's Army of Renown used to work in the previous edition. Essentially, that now means that if I want to take Blue Scribes with my Chaos Knights, I would also have to take Pink Horrors.
Exactly.
Which is very problematic, to be honest, because that's starting to be a lot of points. I've already got a new list, and it's just got Nurglings in it in terms of allies. But I'm very interested if these points drops will be enough for demons to see play, and I'm not convinced.
I'm not convinced either, because for taking as an example, Demonettes, that's 110 points, or Bloodletters 120 points, that are battle lines example, and they are still like overcosted for that points value. So
Yep.
Like for GSC, for it's 180 points, for example, as 20 neophytes, which are really much better. The Army of Demons still like have really flowing, in my opinion, army rules. And what we see right now is a hot fix of the army by reducing points values and across the table. And that was exactly the thing I was mentioning when we did our episode last time at the end of the year. That I'm really worried if they will do some things like that, because this, in my opinion, this is a really wrong approach on balancing the game. Because either will, if they follow this on, either will just reach the game state where you can spam all kinds of the units on the table and you just play a horde demon army, or they will just back off some changes, or they will, for example, introduce some balancing updates or as part of the balancing data slate, and but not updating point values, and everything will be like bloated and even harder to balance and to get off of the situation. This is something I don't like. I wanted to see some updates on Chaos Demons, but right now I'm a little bit worried about how it will affect the game. Yeah,
I'm getting a bit of an AdMech vibe here, in terms that things are getting cheaper. AdMech is fairly cheap in points, but the rules aren't really great, and
yes.
It doesn't matter how much of it you can put on the board if it just does nothing and slowly dies.
It's even worse than AdMech, because actually AdMech rules, especially in Skitari cohort, they are really fine. Like point values are fine, but the units just are just mid shield for another mid shield, and basically they did nothing on the table.
And it's just meat shields. There's no meat.
Yes. Maybe someone can call like cataphrons as a meat, but that's a topic for entire different episodes sometime in the future.
Okay, let's move on from demons so that we don't get too sad. Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah.
No,
Chaos
or
Knights
actually,
first.
wait, Chaos Knights are first, but
The floor is
these
yours.
are just some. Yeah, so we've got some points drops for the bigger models. I still don't think they're significant enough for the big units to be really viable. They still die a bit too fast, although maybe with the Eldar and CSM nerfs, maybe we can look into this more, but I don't think so. That's the hot take. I think an expected points increase for the Brigand, because it's also been allied into Death Guard quite often, for example. This points change now means that you can't actually ally 3 Brigands into your other Chaos Army, because that would exceed the points limit now. It also means that I can't no longer play pure Chaos Knights 13 War Dogs, which is a bit of a bummer. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't think that the army is in a fundamentally bad place, but it also isn't like your top dog, and probably won't be because of the fact that it just gives away so much secondaries. Straight away.
Every army that gives out on secondary got some limitations on what score can you achieve. And here, for example, in GSC, you can hide characters if someone takes assassination and play around it, and you can't play around bring it down with Chaos Knights.
Pure vehicle army,
yeah, you just can't. And that's the exact issue with Tau as well. You can't deny the opponent from getting 20 from Brigand now.
Yep.
So this limits like the maximum score you can get in teams, because
and differential.
As I'm always mentioning, I'm always considering armies from teams perspective, because in singles opinions may vary, especially on win draw lose system.
Yep, 100%. Then we've got the Chaos Space Marines, and before we go into the details, I have to say I didn't expect them to be hit that hard.
My take on this is that they got hit, and from what I don't remember the exact point values from the four that were before, but what I don't like is actually some changes in rules. Let's start with points.
The Chaos Lord is 20 points up, if I'm not mistaken. The Chosen are definitely 20 points up. So is the Forge Fiend, I think. Same for a full squad of Accursed. It used to be 190. Dark Communal is 10 points. Oblits are 10 points for 2. Not sure about Warp Talents, to be honest. I can't remember how they were.
Basically, all of the playable units, or maybe not playable, all played units got got the nerf. So this probably adds up for many points that list will go up. Yeah.
And I honestly think that would have almost been enough. Almost. But then we've got quite a lot of changes of rules in the datastate itself. So starting from the top, you can only embark within a transport if it has the same mark of chaos as the unit embarking within.
That's something that I really don't like as a change, as a rule, because we are going back for the rules that we used to have some limitations about keywords of transports and what can write where, and that's in my opinion it's going back to rules inconsistency. I just don't like it. Was it necessary? I don't think so.
And I agree. It's also kind of it's just not thematic as well, which obviously isn't that relevant for us from a competitive perspective, but still. I also don't think that was necessary along with all the other changes, especially.
Yes, exactly. It's just this is a targeted nerf to riding any stuff in a Nurgle Rhino, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And the next thing that we see is actually another target nerf
to the same unit,
issue.
Pretty much. Yep.
Come on, it's a double nerf on something, and so when we started the topic, so basically Dark Obscuration stratagem got nerfed from you cannot target the things if it's more than 18 inches. It's still gonna be used for sure, but in less number of cases, and 12 to 18 inches is a really big difference.
It's a significant change. I mean, it's still usable on your forge feet, right? But it's not really going to protect your rhinos anymore.
Yeah, but forge fins got point increases on the other.
Of course they did. No, of course they
did. Still, we do have double nerfs around the codex.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add about the Marks of Chaos restriction is that I actually like that it was some potential for doing little combos, like you take Noise Marines, for example, with the Blastmaster, put them in the Nurgle Rhino, and then use the Nurgle Rhino's firing deck to get sustained hits, which was just like, a little bit of flavor, a little bit of tech. Not necessarily used that often, but still, it left some room for, innovation. Then we got another nerf to the Profane Zeal stratagem. So now you can only reroll the wound roll, not the wound roll and the hit roll. It also seems that you can only target Chaos Undivided units, whereas before you could target anything, although it will only get reroll once of hit and wound. So now it's just Chaos Undivided and it's just a wound roll. Was that necessary?
I guess the stratagem was strictly used on Chaos Undivided because no one wanted.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, because it gives you maximum efficiency. Then.
Yeah. My take on that is that rerolling both hit and wound rolls was a little bit too efficient. Rerolling once to hit and to wound would be okay, but not having full rerolls on everything. So in terms of rules, I think it's kind of a good change because this is just pure nerf to stratagem efficiency, which was clearly too efficient when compared to other stratagems.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
It was one CP. It's one CP.
It's one CP. Yeah, and considering the fact that it would also combo with your sustained or your lethal hits.
Yeah,
and then you can just fish for them with the reroll, and then you also get a free use of this with the Chaos Lord. You could see that was just a little bit much, although that's pretty much what the output of Chaos Space Marines relied on. Then we've got a Cursed Cultist, changing the OC of the, for the whole unit, for all the models to 1 from 2. think that's a good change, right?
Yes,
Pretty
yes,
sure that's a
exactly,
good
exactly.
change.
Just having OC2 on that kind of unit was, in my opinion, it was just too much. And changing that to one is okay. And
Yep.
the next change is like you return models only on in your
In your
command
command
phase. Not,
phase.
yeah, that's also a good change.
Yep, definitely.
But
That's definitely one that I wanted to see and was hoping that would be here, and I think was necessary.
yes,
All right. Well, that was a lot happened here. So, same question as when we discussed Eldari. What do you think of CSM now? Are they still a top dog faction or back to the
I'm not
bin they
sure
go?
because I'm not sure because I haven't calculated what's the list look like. I don't. Uh, the nerf is really like big. Uh, this particular list that was built with the CSM list used exactly those units because they were like the most efficient picks in the codex.
Yep.
Uh,
You've had two archetypes at some point, and then Mani kind of merged them into one for the WoW Championships, and all of those units just got whacked.
so right now, I guess they will just drop from being top faction as well.
Hmm.
Maybe there's still some play with some things that we don't see, but right now,
Yeah, they
I
definitely
don't
have
think.
to be reinvented, but I don't think they've got the depth of Eldari to come back and
Yeah,
try
that's
dominating
also
again.
true. But on the other hand, if I remember correctly, because I'm not 100% sure, the CSM should get the codex quite soon.
Um, I'm not sure
At least
how soon.
before
For
WTC.
WTC, yes, that for
Yeah,
sure.
and that's important.
That's what
So
matters, right? For us.
that the only thing that matters. Yeah, we'll see how the codex approaches the faction. Until the codex, basically for testing this faction out in terms of WTC, it's a that index for now to test with.
Hmm.
Maybe some of the choices. Oh,
Let's
uh,
move on. So
yes.
we've got the Dark Angels with a codex that's been released in a box. So it's in this weird borderline zone right now. They've got some points decreases, including on a unit that has been removed in the codex book. But I
So
don't think
I
there's any point discussing this
no, I don't think so because
unless you
this
want
is
to.
like blank page right now.
Yep. Right, then we've got the Death Guard. So Death Guard got quite a boost in the first data slate, and now they got nerfed a little bit. So the Plague Marines and the Plague Burst Crawlers, the obvious like top picks, have got points increases, and they've also changed the Grenade Man's ability so that you can only do it once per battle now, and not every turn, which I think is a good change. Because throwing 4 grenades each turn was not necessarily healthy for the game.
Mm, yeah, yeah, exactly. The thing is what I just realized that they changed this for this guy, but didn't change for. I
For
need to
the
double check the rules.
Saboteur,
Yeah, for the saboteur.
yeah, okay. Well, whoops. Good for
Uh,
you, if that's applicable. That
I,
is.
yeah, I mean, still, I'm looking for inconsistencies. Someone was on one of my channels, Facebook probably. I promised some complaints. So yeah, after everyone listening here and later on, yeah, there are some complaints. I will complain on rules consistency and come on.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Um, So Death Guard was kind of fighting for a spot in the top factions list. I think it's going to be now a little bit more difficult for them because obviously the most popular build got a bit nerfed. But we'll see. Right, then we've got
what also one take on the what just came out that came to my mind is that still they didn't nerf Rhino anywhere, and the Rhino is
that is
probably
true.
the one of the most efficient transports in the game. And they didn't nerf the Rhino in any of the codexes. Just I think.
Don't
I
give them
guess
ideas.
uh,
No, but it's true. I mean, the
probably
Chaos
many
Space
of
Marine Rhino has been nerfed. You could
yeah,
argue.
but on the other hand, probably just increasing Rhino cost will be okay for majority of nerf instead of increasing points around. Just increasing Rhino point cost will be enough. Probably, maybe. Just a thing to discuss because basically every unit that we are discussing right now that got point increases in the metagame just were placed in the Rhino of some flavor.
That's true. Although I think it might be the fact that rhinos have been used very heavily in the Chaos factions, but I don't think they necessarily popped up for stuff like Space Marines. So
I'm Black
would it
Templar
matter
is
though if it also got points increase? I'm not sure. I mean, there's definitely a point here about the Rhino.
no, I'm just
Thinking
wondering
out loud.
because
Yeah.
sisters, for example, used Rhino. Some kind of a Black Templar list that Olivier from Team France used to run. Also got Rhinos.
Yeah. And you can take one in Custodes for your sisters as well. So yeah, that's definitely a point. So, but yeah, it's been overlooked, I guess. So that's that. The mystery of the Rhino. Death Watch.
Yeah, I'm just personally, I just my thought is Rhino Rush style is just killed GSC metagame. So
That's why you
I'm
hate them.
I'm a little bit biased. So
Bit salty, a bit subjective here. I don't. Are there any changes to Death Watch? Nothing in points. I think this was introduced last time round.
I think so.
Bolt weapons thing. Yeah. Then let's move on, and then we've got the Drukhari. So I have to admit, I'm a little bit surprised about the points increase for the bomber. I mean, it's a good unit and was definitely taken in lists, but
It used to
given
be
how
as
the faction is performing, I really don't think any points increase are necessary here. Increases. But the transports got points reductions, Straza got a point reduction, Grotesques got a point reduction, and all sorts of stuff. There's also been an improvement for the power from pain rule, so now melee attacks also get an improved armor penetration characteristic. And an Archon can now join Incubi squads, which is pretty cool because he can give wound rerolls, which is very necessary for them. They've also got a new detachment, so that's something completely new that's been introduced. The detachment rule is basically that if you disembark from a transport, your shooting attacks get ignore cover, and your melee attacks get lance roll in the same turn. Honestly, I still don't think that's where the problem with Drukhari lies. Really think it's the matter of the stat lines just not being up to date for 10th edition. But yeah, I'm definitely tempted to try and mingle a little bit in this faction. Do you have a hot take?
You should definitely try them. because the changes are like really good. A lot of increases, and also the new detachment, which is lance, is actually quite good rule.
It is.
It's basically +1 to wound, yeah.
Yeah, when you charge, but it would be helpful if you had more strength than 5 on grotesques, 4 on incubi, 3 on
Still,
witches.
yeah, but still +1 to wound. It's always
Yeah, I
something.
mean it doubles your damage, right? Because it's not
Yeah.
6s, it's 5s. But
I haven't done any math for the yet, but on the other hand, I guess the rule. It's good they tried something. We'll see if it works. Basically,
sure.
What I really hate about it is still rules inconsistency in, or maybe not rules, but approach inconsistency. Why Drukhari got additional detachment and no one else did?
Well, because Drukhari were at the absolute bottom of the win
Yeah,
rate percentage.
I know, but
And
still,
I think the only one that was red. I mean, yeah, again, it's something new they tried last time round. They tried quite big rules alterations for Death Guard, for Votan, etc. Here they introduced just an alternate detachment. I don't know. I mean, like you said, it's nice that they've tried.
Yep.
I'm not
I'm
convinced.
I'm not convinced yet. I know that people are like hyped right now about Drukhari because, but without running any tests, I can't say anything about that. The thing I really don't like the approach they have. So one faction will change the rules, the other faction will just introduce a lot of nerfs to bring them in line with other. For Drukhari, they invented a new detachment, which is strictly like invented for and implemented in the game for fixing the issue with Drukhari. So if they, I don't know if they did it properly, but if they did it to fix the faction, that would mean that and it worked well. If it works well, it basically means that that detachment will not be used at all. And that's like, I don't like the approach. I don't like I just, I don't know what was the intention of introducing it, but this is how I interpret it. That they wanted to fix something. That's something I don't like about it. And I'm repeating myself, but it's still my personal opinion.
And I mean, I kind of agree because of the fact that they've introduced a new detachment that is very much a skew. And they've then reduced points on units that might not necessarily benefit from that detachment. So units like Hellions, like Reavers, like, well, okay, there is a use case where Grotesques can benefit, but not Talos, for example. So yeah, it's a bit, I don't know. I mean, again, like you said, it's nice that they've tried, but was this the way to go? And again, it's kind of inconsistent with what's been done before. Yeah. But yeah, I'm very tempted to see if Drukhari can actually be a viable choice for 8-man teams, because that's the best they can probably do.
Yeah.
Gene Stealer Cults. A change to, oh wait, no, I went the wrong direction. There we go.
The same. It's basically the same.
The cult ambush hasn't changed, right? It's,
yeah.
I'm not wrong. Yeah, okay. So it's just a points decrease on pure strange Gene Stealers.
Which is fine.
An interesting little unit, but is it a game changer?
No, they actually make them maybe usable. pure strengths are not that bad pick. They never were, but
Yeah.
the issue with that unit was just that they didn't have any target that they can kill efficiently. In a different meta game, maybe they would be just better. Maybe we'll have a meta game that they will be used, and then having like 3 units of them is perfectly viable. Still, the biggest problem is they resurrect on 5-up, not. So that's
Exactly.
basically what it means for GSC. Just is that you still want to take battle lines in order to get them, because
Because
the
it feels
resurrection cult ambush
it-
ability is basically calculated in the points of the units.
exactly, that's what I was going to say. So you need to make the most of it, and to make the most of it, you need to take battle line units because they've got the biggest chance of coming back. But should we make a little jump to the design commentary, because I think there's some very important stuff there.
Let's finish. Let's finish the.
Okay, so we'll get back to GSC essentially.
Yeah.
Then we've got Grey
As always.
Knights. So they got a points increase in the Librarian. Okay. I mean, the Librarian is a bit of a hit or miss unit. So that's that. But they've also got a little boost for the Dread Knights. So they've got better AP and ignore cover on the heavy side cannon, which is solid, and they've got better weapon skill.
Yeah.
So just an improvement. And this is also interesting to see because a change in weapon profiles, I think, is new. And not only for this edition, it's not been that common in Dataslates to date. At least I don't recall.
When you're telling me that I don't recall us either. But yeah,
so
it's
where,
still.
So where is at least
different.
strength 5 for Incubi? But never mind, Grey Knights.
So still, they basically fixed the data sheet that was not well designed at the first place. Nice addition, and there's a use case for that. If I remember correctly, there's some kind of an upgrade enhancement for ignoring like damage reduction.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and that's quite nice. That can be comboed with.
Yeah, but that ties in more with the what's happening in the rules commentary, so we'll get to that. Imperial Knights, so they've got points decreases across the board. They've also been a faction that's been struggling. They've also got a clarification that it's rerolling 1 hit roll and 1 wound roll, and not rerolling once, which I think is interesting. I mean, in some cases it's better, in some cases it's a bit worse. But do you think that this is enough for Knights to come back? Knights of the Imperial flavor?
I'm not sure because I haven't seen Knights on the table since like
For
June
so long.
2023 when we tested the first solutions. Renegade Knights got one big advantage over Imperial Knights, and that's this one stratagem that allows you to actually move through the walls.
I think the fact that they've also got the Brigand with a 2+ ballistic skill and the Carnivore
also
2+ weapon skill.
Also, but playing against Imperial Knights, if you don't go first and have some infiltration units, you can just block the table
movement. Yep.
Yeah, and the Renegade Knights got a solution for that. Brigands, of course, Brigands and stuff as well. I'm not convinced, but I wouldn't I don't want to spend much time on analyzing Imperial Knights because I'm just not familiar with them.
Yep, that's fair. but you are familiar with Leagues of Votan. So the rules have not changed. That's still the same as it's been introduced in September.
Yeah.
We do have some points increases, though. I think the Sagittar is fair game for it going up. It was also very efficient.
Yeah, but I guess it's like quite too much, too many points.
Because it's 15 or
50,
25?
yeah, 15 points more.
15.
And
I'm
the
totally
problem
not
with
sold on Thunderkin. Oh yeah, but go on.
but
Let's
on
get this later.
what's wrong with Sagittarius is basically the weapon profile is random.
Too random, yeah.
Because having like last cannon with sustained hits, D3 sustained hits, rolling, you can basically do nothing with that kind of weapon or annihilate any target because you roll double six on the hit roll,
Yeah.
and now you suddenly got 8 hits from last cannon's cannon with +1/+2 and somewhere, and that's basically the issue with Sagittar, and not the point values that I would still probably use three or four Sagittars right now for transporting berserks. But yeah, we'll see. Because on the defense profile, Sagittars are like okayish, and when they
The rhinos, right? And
yeah.
rhinos are pretty good. But how would you change them in that case? Would you do something with the weapon profile, and what if it was up to you?
I would just change the weapon profile to be sustained hits 1. That's enough. Not
Okay.
different.
Fair.
That's if they really need to fix that, because I mean the transport for the such slow army as Votan is really necessary. You can't make a list without transport or mobile units, and you have Sagittars, you get Pioneers, and maybe Land Fortresses that are actually mobile, and the rest of the army just moves 5 inches and that's the problem with Bolton, I guess. Pioneers got their own issues, like having too big footprint to hide them or to move them efficiently on the table, despite the movement capacity that they have. Yeah, that's basically my opinion on that. And we got also nerfs to other units that are commonly played, so Hardguard and Tanakins, and still Hardguard are, in my opinion, they're already overcosted for what they did, especially because they efficiency relies on using stratagems and character, or basically I was not sold on having like double hardguard, second hardguard unit in the list, because one unit was enough, and the second one was unnecessary in my opinion. I only used 5 model squads as a second one, which was really not a good idea, not a bad as well. But right now there's no justification for having like additional 5 model unit for that, because they got like 10 for 10 models you get 20 points more. And the issue with this particular unit is that you got 2 wounds each on models that cost like 32 points right now per model. Mortal wounds just decimate this unit. So you get a unit that got a clear answer. Majority of factions got some kind of source of mortal wounds, or just a grenade stratagem. I'm not sure that they should touch the points of this particular unit.
But I'm more surprised to the increase to Thunderkin
Yeah, still.
than to Hearthguard. I think
It
that's totally
was
uncalled for.
it was super random units that could do kill some. Basically, always took them with the anti-vehicle weapon,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they were already really random. Uh, Actually, they were undercosted for what they may do, but
Yeah, but it's May, right? If we're talking
it's
about
still a may,
variance,
not what they
then
do.
exactly.
I played a
Makes
game
sense.
that, for example, they killed a knight or something in one go. On the other game, they basically did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was so like a funny test game against orcs. So it was what's they called orcs units that shooting units, not the Lutas,
Mm,
the other thing.
Flash
Other thing.
gets.
Yeah, Flash Git squads killed, shot everything into Thundercans, killed one model, and I with my three Thundercans, yeah, with two Thundercans, I killed two models, so I won the fight. It was
An
super
epic
funny.
fight that was. Yeah.
Yeah, statistics were completely different, but yeah, it is what it is.
Now we've
Necrons untouched.
Yeah, and just like Admech, but unlike Admech, I think these guys actually needed nerfs rather than
Yeah, it's
being
completely
untouched.
different situation with them.
Yep.
Uh, what can we say? Let's see. They already got some nerf in
We,
FAQ. We'll see.
we can say that we can welcome our new Necron overlords, probably. Orcs, also nothing in the data slate as far as I can see. Just double checking my alphabet knowledge. Yep. But a couple of points changes, so decreases on the vehicles that were not used, at least some of them. The what you call them, the buggies. That's the word I was looking for. An increase on the trucks, on the pig cavalry, and on knobs. Quite expected, I would say. But I still think that orcs will be looking quite solid.
Yeah, that there were good faction, and actually, what I do like is that this change here is actually kind of reasonable. Because
Mhm.
you take units that are not played, you decrease the points for some reason, and you take the most popular options and increase the points. So, for example, they increased the point of the core transport here, which was
Mhm.
definitely like
Which makes sense, yeah.
and they didn't need to like increase points for boys for oh, yeah, things. So maybe my point with increasing points for Rhino was kind of a good. And what I disagree about is Squeak Out Boys increase, because I I have never got a problem against playing against this unit, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I've had problems playing against this unit, so I can't
Okay.
agree with you.
I,
I think that the toughness 7, the 3 wounds, the feel no pains, and the potential -1 to wound is actually quite a good profile defensively. And they're not too shabby on the offensive. But again, I'm a bit subjective because they've got anti-vehicle, and I play vehicle-only army. So yeah,
that explains everything.
that's that.
Yeah,
Um,
and knobs are okay. I mean, change to knobs is okay because they have.
yeah, they were quite efficient, good all-round unit. Space Marines. So we've got an increase to aggressors, quite expected, I think. Yeah, definitely. Then we've got some points reductions for units that were hardly seen. And I think they're all battle line, essentially, which was also mentioned in the article on Warhammer Community. An increase to Centurions because of how well they performed in the Vanguard detachment and on big tournaments. And Redemptor also expected, same for Whirlwind. Pretty much same for the Scout Squad. So no big surprises here.
Still
No
the
changes to the
reasonable.
Dataslate.
Yeah. So reasonable approach. Increase points on what's too efficient. Decrease on some not plates.
Yep.
I'm not sure if it was all of the changes here were necessary, but it's a nice.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, look, it's an attempt to bring in some units to the table more, which is fine. They're not obnoxious points increases and not on obnoxious units, I think. So all good stuff. Then we've got Space Wolves, no points changes. I think there are some changes to the detachment, but I wouldn't go over them because they just play the Stormlands thingy from the from the Space Marine Codex, which outclasses the Space Wolf detachment. And then we've got some changes to Tau. Expected increase under Crisis. Yeah, the two commanders that weren't used as much got a decrease, and the Riptide got a decrease. Interestingly enough, it really feels like it's got a good value for points now.
Yeah, Riptide is gonna be a really good value for points. What I was kind of expecting is to increase on such things like Tetras, because
that's true.
From my perspective, Tau of course Tau has its own problems with having with relying on vehicles and stuff and giving up, bringing it down. I don't deny that they need like some buffs or something to improve the army, but Tau was kind of in a good state right now. What I was wondering, because Tetras are the units that are from my perspective, they shouldn't cost like 80 points for 2 models. Because right now they got infiltration, they got core like unit to do spots for different Tau units. They're just too efficient for what they do, and they will always be included in the list. So I expected someone to just look on the on this thing, and this will be much more welcome than, for example, increase in crisis points, because crisis like crisis battlesuits are both in competitive wise and in flavor, faction flavor wise, they're core unit of the entire army.
Yep.
And what makes them too efficient is the stuff that relies around and buffs them. So maybe there should be just less stuff on the table to make them like more in line with what other factions do. Much welcome change to the Riptide. We'll see. It's still Tau is still like called a faction that will get Codex before WTC.
Yep, I think I wouldn't say they're the next faction to actually get one, so definitely very, very soon. We'll see how that changes, how the faction plays. Then we've got Thousand Suns, no points changes, no Dataslate changes, absolutely nothing. I was hoping for a little buff, but alas. Don't think there's any point discussing. Tyranids, a similar approach to the Space Marines and Orcs and Tau that we've just discussed. So slight changes in points, some reductions on the less popular units, although I feel like I've seen the Norn models in lists. So
Yeah,
Maybe
but
not.
they were more like a fun approach. Let's take 3 to 4 super durable units that are just a pain to remove from the table. But they do nothing. Not nothing,
Fair
but
enough.
they do. Uh, it's fair.
Gargoyles, Neurolector, Pyrovores, definitely popular choices. I'm a bit surprised that there's no change to Carnifex's Old One Eye, and Exocrines, I think, most
Yeah,
importantly.
exocrine is definitely too efficient right now. They should be increasing points there.
But it is what it is. We'll see how Tyranids will perform. And yes, World Eaters as the last faction. And I think if there's any faction that's been hit too hard, it's this one. Actually, because they weren't as much of a bully as Eldari and or Chaos Space Marines, and yet they're almost up there with the amount of nerfs that they've been hit. And especially, I mean, this is like similar case to Custodes in September. You've got an army that doesn't have a plethora of options in terms of data sheets.
Yes.
And we're not talking about viable options, but just options in general. And like all the core ones get nerfed.
Yes. And the problem with this faction is that they like win ratio and the success recently was more based on like surprise effect. So you get like new faction, and when people actually get used to play against them, it occurred that they are not that good because they can be, for example, easily blocked by infiltrators, and if you screen yourself, they have no shooting at all. So you can like easily control a game against world leaders if you know what to do, basically. So people got used to playing them, and then the faction was not that efficient. Especially it occurred during our scrims, Team Poland scrims. So there was a period that we play tested that pretty frequently, and then suddenly all of the results that we got from world leaders and our estimations got lower and lower and lower, and I guess it's just before the Dataslate, it was not possible to pair world leaders properly. That's my opinion on that.
Yep, and
Also, but
agreed.
fun thing is that what I noticed is that Forge Wind for World Eaters cost 145 points, and for CSM it's 200.
200. Yeah, but I mean, I actually think this is fair in terms of that, the World Eaters one. And let me just check the Thousand Suns one's cost. 1,000 Suns is even cheaper. So they do pretty much nothing. Whilst for the Chaos Space Marines one, you get Dev Wounds, you get Sustained / Lethal, you get rerolls from Profane Zeal. It just does so much more.
I'm just I just think it's funny.
It is, and I agree. But I actually think that but there's like reason for it, and it's done.
Yes,
sensibly.
it's done. It's done correctly.
Yeah, exactly. But still a bit funny
because you include like faction rules in the cost of the units.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. But still, it's come on. It's 55 points and 65 points for 1,000 Sun. Difference.
It's a big difference. And just for the history books, so the Berserker Glaive is now 1 to attacks and damage, not D3. The Favorite of Khorne is once per battle, and it was each turn, I think. And then the Demon Prince only gives a 5-up invulnerable, unless a unit already had an invulnerable, in which case 4-up. So the not so common build of 120 Jackals with a Demon Prince is also essentially dead, I want to say. And I don't think it was that good in the first place, but we'll see. So we've gone through the faction changes themselves, but there's also been a number of changes in the design commentary, which
Yes.
is actually important because we've had differentiating rulings between the WTC, and they've not reworked on their FAQ for quite a long time since the event, essentially. Then we've had an event FAQ for the World Championships of Warhammer that introduced some different rulings for the same questions. So you essentially had to ask your TO how some things will be ruled prior to each event. Hopefully that's now going away because we've got some things well clarified. Do you want to take the lead on this one? On
Yes,
which
I can.
changes should we focus on?
I will just focus on some big things. And first of all, we do have adding models to the unit
Yes.
change. They did like a additional exception to what was used, that models added to a unit that is not currently on the battlefield do not have to meet this requirement. So basically, it could mean it's that for GSC, for example, you can add some models after arriving from deep strikes. It's still some kind of an inconsistency, but rules as written, you can't because it's not currently on the battlefield. So, but I guess it will require some more clarification what they mean with that. But
Yeah, because I don't really understand the sentence. I mean, I don't see a situation in which it is relevant because it sounds like, well,
yeah,
if you're not on the battlefield, well, there's like no coherency when you're not on the battlefield, and it absolutely doesn't matter. So,
yeah, you
what,
can,
what's up with that?
yes, but you can, for example, resurrect models from GSC stuff that are in the deep
Yeah, but
strike.
then when they deep strike, they still have to be 9 away, right? So you're not
Yeah.
getting any advantage per se, other than they are coming back to the unit, which they were anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy for this part to now being in a GDubs document, so no more conga lining stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we do have arriving from strategic reserves clarification in the first battle round.
There you go.
What was that? Yeah, okay, just a small clarification, I guess.
Because how was it ruled at the WTC that you can't do it, or that you?
Actually,
Wait,
it's something
which?
different here.
For a second. Ah, that's the one about rules being one higher. And I thought
Yeah,
we were talking about taking stuff off the board. Yeah. But still, it's good to have this clarified.
let's find out some the significant things are coming. Let's go on to
Tell me where.
the count as having made a normal move. That's a kind of a big change. Because what do you have here? Reserves units always count as having made a normal move, and this is fine. But there's one exception, that the clarification that these units are not counted as having made a normal move, and the same applies from this disembarkment from transport. So right now, this do not trigger any rules that requires ending movement within 9 inches, for example, or so no redeployments or something like that right now. you can't, for example, grenade mortal wounds from Saboteur, GSC Saboteur, into units that arise from reserves. Also, GSC perspective, you cannot dispose cult ambush tokens with deep strikes or something like that. So that's kind of a big change.
Yeah, this is one of the GSC buffs that we mentioned earlier.
Yes, exactly. The next one. Or this hazardous is okay.
Oh, wait. No, that's this new
one-shot change. I do. It's another change to GSE. Actually, a nerf, but
okay. Where do I go?
one-shot rules.
One shot. Okay. Well, that's quite far out.
Yeah, just don't want to.
Yeah. I
The
mean,
rest are so small things.
Maybe
I missed something, but
quite a long time.
It's late.
Yeah, exactly. One shot. There you go.
Yeah. So right now, one-shot weapons cannot be used with the firing deck ability.
So no more. Yeah, like you said, in terms of GSC, no more demolition charges out of your truck.
Yeah, I'm already being asked questions. Do I include a truck? Still include a truck in the list, or this is just a nerf to a truck and something like that? No, it is not, because I have just used maybe 1 or 2 times this rule, to be honest, with a truck in a practical way. It's a nerf, but not a big issue.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Another thing is redeploy. Right now, we do have the clarification so that you can actually use Infiltrator's ability if you redeploy. So you can redeploy from the Infiltration to the Infiltration, which is also kind of a buff to GSC and how I play them. So I right now can deploy Infiltrators units and to block other Infiltrators.
Oh yeah,
and then,
it's big. This is big.
And redeploy them into the midfield, not into my DZ or deep strike. So that's and this is also applicable for different factions. So not only for. Was there something?
Do you have anything else?
Those are things about ignoring modifiers, which was important, but to be honest,
vehicles with bases.
Yeah, it's.
Don't think so. Ignoring modifiers, I think, is quite a big one because different events ruled it differently. But now we're hoping for some consistency. So when an ability allows you to ignore modifiers to units or models' characteristics, unless specifically stated, that means the ignore modifiers to move, toughness save, wounds, leadership, OC, range attacks, ballistic skill, weapon skill, strength, armor, penetration, and damage for their weapons and attacks. And the same goes for rolls and tests for those models and their attacks. So, advanced hit, wound damage, charge, desperate escape, or hazardous. That's actually quite interesting. Although I don't think I recall a modifier to a hazardous test.
I don't.
When a rule states you can ignore any roll modifiers to a stated characteristic or row, you can choose to ignore all of the modifiers to the stated characteristic or row, or only some of them. I think that's how things were played, but I think the questions were usually around the armor penetration and damage, and
Yes.
now this is cleared up, so that's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good that we do have a clarification, and the more clarification we have, the more consistent the rules are. So I encourage GW to improve, just increase amounts of just rules here, because it helps out TOs to have like to play the same game over different communities, basically.
Yep. Oh, and they've even edited rapid ingress wording so that it's actually usable rules as written.
Yeah.
For deep striking, at least. So that's nice. Yep. So that's it. I mean, like we said, there are a couple of more changes here that we didn't go over. We just thought that these ones are the most significant ones. But yeah, do check out the rules commentary, and so that you're always playing the game correctly.
Yes.
Right, so we've been blabbering on for quite a while. Majson, any last thoughts?
Yeah, as a conclusion, I like the changes that we have here. I complained on some things, but that's
It's what we
I'll
do.
try
We're
to.
Polish. We have to complain.
Yes, exactly. I wouldn't be myself if I don't if I just didn't complain on something. Yeah, you got you already have my take on how this affects my favorite faction in the game. Sorry for being biased. I will be still doing that. For sure. But in the end, I like the changes. I think it's a good thing for the game. I really miss some takes on Admech and Necrons because they were just omitted, and they clearly need an update. So we just need to have like 3 more months for another data slate. But basically we have all the data that's necessary to state that Necrons are too powerful faction, and Admech is too weak faction.
Yep.
What I don't like is what I mentioned. So rules inconsistency, and things that were not every faction was treated in the same way. That's what I personally don't like, because it generates bloat and not like a stable way and stable procedure process to implement the data slate. But we'll see how it goes in further updates.
Yep, I wholeheartedly agree with all of what you've just said. So at least we aligned at the end, which is nice. So guys, we'll be wrapping this up. If you like what we do, please like, subscribe our stuff on YouTube. Consider becoming a Patreon, and consider becoming a YouTube member. That will be up shortly. I'm working on it, and hopefully I'll have that set up in the next week or so. So watch out for that. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting us and who's been listening to this and any other episodes, and to our wonderful sponsors, the Army Painter and Weyland-Yutani. These were the hot takes on the data slate from Majson and myself here at Contact Lost. And we now wish you a good night, or a good rest of the day if you're watching this in the Americas. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you.